We're at the end of the week. We're at the end of the college basketball regular season. Got games this weekend, but otherwise, man, it's tournament time. Women's tournaments are underway. Some of the mid-major men's tournaments have already begun. But the big boys, the Power 4 schools, the other high-performing conferences that are in basketball, like the Big East, so on and so forth, they are wrapping up the regular season. March Madness, it's here. And I hate saying that because I really just don't even like that phrase, but it's March Madness. It's here. So I'm very excited. Bit of news, though. Bit of news before we get too deep into the show. And on this episode, by the way, I'm going over my All-American teams for men's basketball. The Associated Press tasked each of us, I think there are 62 of us who are on the voting panel, to put together a 5-person first team, 5-person second team, 5-person third team, and then name a player of the year and a coach of the year. I'm going to go over that with Dalen Cuff of, he wears lots of hats, CBS Sports, TNT, USA, and Field of 68. Going to go over that with him in just a few minutes. But some significant news out of Chapel Hill. Caleb Wilson, who you might be hearing his name again in a minute when I go over my All-American teams, he's done. His season's over, and it's not because of the broken left hand that he suffered against Miami on February 10th. He broke his right thumb. And he did it in practice, and it happened on a day in which I woke up reading quotes from Hubert Davis saying there's a good chance he's going to play this weekend against Duke. Yeah, he's done. His UNC career, unless something shocking develops, it's over. University of North Carolina is sending out a press release earlier. I'm going to read it verbatim. That freshman forward Caleb Williams broke his right thumb, it'd be this one, in a non-contact drill on Thursday, March 5th. He'll need surgery out the rest of the season. Previously, he had broken a bone in his left hand at Miami on February 10th. Missed the last 6 games for UNC. He had been cleared for individual workouts last week, and he was doing dribbling, shooting, so on and so forth. He was working his way back to rejoining the lineup, and then he broke his right thumb dunking on Thursday. I am at a loss. And I guess it seems kind of, it doesn't seem that menacing. I mean, he's a guy. He dunks a lot. He has the ability to dunk. It was his good hand, presumably. I'm wondering now, will he get labeled as being injury prone? Possibly. Seems kind of odd that he would have a broken hand and a broken bone on his right hand just a few weeks apart. I'm hoping it doesn't tag him because he's a fantastic player. He's a fantastic player. And our interview with Dalen Cuff, which was actually recorded last night, we were speculating on if he returns this weekend for the regular season finale at Cameron Indoor Stadium, a revenge game for Duke and all that after UNC beat the Blue Devils at the Dean Dome, the Dean E. Smith Center, just a few weeks ago. That's obviously not going to happen. The ACC Tournament, which I was under the idea that he's already got a win over Duke. He doesn't need to have a game at Cameron on his resume. ACC Tournament coming up, it has weight. I was of the belief that he would come back for that. Well, he's not coming back for either. And it's a darn shame. 19.8 points, 9.4 rebounds. He was twice the National Player of the Week. I mean, the guy's a baller. He's got game. In the mix for being the possible number 1 overall pick in the NBA draft. Now, reportedly, he will be able to participate in pre-draft workouts, so on and so forth, for the NBA. I hope it works out great for him. But he's going to be missed. His energy on the court and on the sideline, even as an observer on the bench, when he had the cast, which ended up then becoming a brace, then it became nothing, and he was on the sideline, inactive. It was compelling, not only for what he was doing, but the fact that he was so engaged with A, the game, and B, his teammates who were getting to play and he wasn't. It's a big loss for a lot of reasons. And I hate it for him, because he's obviously, by all accounts, everyone I've spoken to in Chapel Hill is a great guy. Freshman. He's this, boyish enthusiasm and energy about him. But I have to think, even though North Carolina played pretty darn good without him, ceiling got a lot lower with regards to going deep into the NCAA tournament. And speaking of tournaments, ACC tournament cranking up on Tuesday. 14 of the 18 ACC schools get a spot. That's what happens when you have a bloated conference. Fact. At least it's an even number, though. It's an odd number in football because of that Faustian deal where Notre Dame has 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Doesn't have to be a full football member, a member in football, but can be in everything else. So we'll get on that soapbox another time. Right now, we do know that Boston College and Georgia Tech are out. They're not in the tournament. The futures of those coaches, Earl Grant at 1, Damon Stoudemire at Georgia Tech, in out. So that's something that we'll monitor over the next few days and weeks. Notre Dame and Pitt can play their way in if they each win their games this weekend. And there are also losses by Virginia Tech and Wake Forest, or Syracuse and Wake Forest, rather. So we'll monitor that. Right now, Clemson has the number 5 seed, got a bye. They're going to play the winner of Virginia Tech and Wake Forest as that stands now. And then the winner of that game would proceed to Thursday and play Miami, number 3 Miami. Whew. Caleb Wilson, what a loss. And this will be a perfect segue. Once more, the AP tasked me and the other voters of the Associated Press Top 25 poll with putting together All-American teams. They'll be released next week officially, but we have the latitude to go over them now, and I felt it was prudent coming to the end of the regular season. And I assembled mine, and here's how it looks. There you go. And we could break this down any number of ways, and I did with Dalen Cuff. He agreed with some of it. He disagreed with parts. Even laughed at a couple of parts, but it is what I'm putting out there, and I'm going to stand by it. Cam Boozer, going to get all ACC player, going to get ACC player of the year, and he's probably going to be national player of the year. I have to think that he's in the driver's seat for that. Just a fantastic game, 22.6 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 40% from three-point range. He's just a fantastic player. And I remember watching his dad play, and I mentioned this with Dalen Cuff, and we'll have the interview put up in just a moment. I remember watching his dad play. I was covering Duke and thinking, man, his dad has got such a wonderful game. And indeed, he had a long NBA career, very fruitful NBA career, but nothing like Cam Boozer. Cam Boozer's game inside and out, mid-range, three-point range, around the basket. I think he's the complete package. And I know Duke reloads every year. It seems like that machine is running full throttle and it's well-oiled, and John Shire is just making it hum. I don't know how you replace a guy like that. But we said the same thing about Cooper Flagg last year, and Con Kneppel, who's having a fantastic NBA year. So we'll see what Duke does with regards to that. I'm not going to go over each one of these. That'll be a very intense practice or labor. But I do want to get into Ruben Chinlu of Florida. I think he's the best defensive player in America, especially if you're just quantifying front court. Florida front court, by far the best in the nation. I love his game. I love what he brings to the Gators. The Gators, I've said it before, I'm going to go on the record. If I had to pick a team today to win the national title, I'm picking Florida. Just because it's so balanced. The front court, the back court, the offense, the defense, the coaches have experience on a big stage. Some of the players, Thomas Houck, have experience on a big stage. I just feel really good about the way Florida is playing and seems to be peaking right when you want to peak heading into the postseason. So we'll go over that with Dalen Cuff as well. Looking at the rest of the list, Jacoby Gillespie at Tennessee, I think he's a fantastic player. Darius Acuff at Arkansas. And I know he can get lax on the defensive end, but man, Watching what he did against Alabama, I think he had 49 points in 50 minutes during that double overtime game, something to that effect. What a wonderful effort. And Arkansas is having a good year. Arkansas is having a great year. The SEC, again, just super strong. The tie that binds a lot of these guys together, they're freshmen. It's an unbelievable freshman class that we've been gifted this season. I feel bad for the freshman class in next year. How do they measure up trying to maintain this standard that's being set by the freshmen this go around? What I do hope is that with the advent of NIL and all that and revenue sharing, that maybe some of these guys stick around. Maybe they decide, you know what? I'm projected to go late in the first round. I think if I got another year of college, I can increase my draft stock and my contract, my earning exponentially. So I'm really hoping that happens. I'll say it again. I think NIL and the transfer portal is the best thing to happen to college basketball since the shot clock. I love it. I think it's the biggest reason for the incredible parity that we have across the sport. And last year, I know the SEC had 14 teams get in and probably going to get 10 in this year, maybe 11. But still, there's so much parity. The SEC is a good example. The top of the rankings do not include SEC teams, but there are SEC teams peppered throughout the rankings, and any one of them on any given night is the best team in America. Florida. I think Florida is absolutely fantastic. And I attribute a lot of that to name, image, likeness. Guys don't have to feel like they need to go into the NBA when they're not ready. They don't have to feel like, oh, well, I'm going to go and see if I can get drafted. And then they don't. Or then they sign G League contracts, or they have to go to Europe. Or the second highest paying professional league in the world is college right now. That's a fact. Players make more in college than in any other professional entity. You sign a two-way contract with the G League where you spend time with the NBA and the G League, you go back and forth, you're still not going to make as much unless you spend a really, really, really good amount of time, a chunk of that service, actually on the NBA roster. It just makes more sense to stay in school, continue refining your game, developing physically, and cashing in on name, image, likeness. It's why they said, Betty Yako came back for school and all that, and I dig it. That's very, it's very sweet. It's very sweet. But he came back for the money. He came back for the NIL money, and the revenue sharing, which is way more than he would earn in the G League, way more than he would earn in Europe. But this is all about the All-Americans. This is all about teams trying to get on the good side of the bubble and really finish out the regular season strong before conference tournaments begin. We're going to discuss all that and a little bit more with our friend Dalen Cuff on the other side. Stick around.
Sports fans, it's time to gear up. Head to fanstreamsports.com and check out our brand new merchandise store. We're talking bold t-shirts, 3/4 zips, hoodies, hats, mugs, and more. Everything you need to rep your favorite shows and your favorite crew. Whether you're rolling with the JP Peterson Show in Tampa Bay, From the Rough in Dallas, the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall, or the Jeff Thidoff Show in Ohio, or any of our FanStream Sports original programming, we've got the perfect look for game day and every day. So don't wait. fanstreamsports.com. Click merch and grab your gear now. Wear the stream, live the stream, fanstreamsports.com.
Let's go.
Right now, back to the show on FanStreams.
I'm going over my All-American team again. My 3 All-American teams. We were tasked with putting together a first team, second team, third team. And as I mentioned earlier in the show, this team dominated by freshmen. It absolutely blows my mind, the quality of this freshman class. How did we get to this point? What are we to make of having such outstanding freshmen? We're going to go to our buddy Dalen Cuff, who field of 68, CBS, TNT. You are like Mr. Basketball, Mr. College Basketball. I'm proud of you, brother.
Thanks, man. I'm trying to make money. So when you can work for everybody, you try to work for everybody. That's how it's working. It's been great.
I get that, and I want your take. I sent you over my ballots for first team, second team, third team. What was your initial reaction? Am I cuckoo? Am I off the charts? Did I miss one? Did I have a guy who maybe should have been higher, guys who should have been lower? Give me your assessment.
Where did you send these to? I got to take a look. What are we looking at?
Well, I texted you.
Oh, here we go. Okay, boom, got it. Let me look.
And it was funny. We were talking about good texters, bad texters.
Well, yeah.
You're a pretty good one.
I'm a good texter. I was worried about my shot a second ago. It still looks like I have a 6 head right now. That's a different problem. But yeah. In terms of my first beef would be I do love that you have Christian Anderson as first team. I think that's great. Darius Acuff, just an amazing offensive talent. My problem is if my man can't guard, I can't put you on the first team. If you choose, again, you're a freshman. It's the hardest thing to do is understand how to defend, when to defend, like how to defend, how hard you got to play, how committed you got to be. He and the rest of his teammates, and led by him and Thomas, two of the best freshmen in the country, defense optional. So I can't have that guy on my first team. As amazing as he is offensively, I think there are better players to put in there. Darren Peterson on your second team is tough just because the guy didn't log enough minutes, and now that he's logging minutes, he's struggling a little bit. Could have an amazing NBA career, but I think that's a bridge too far. I think you can look at Caleb Wilson's I love Caleb Wilson. That's fine being the second team. Kingston Flemings, I would probably move him up. Gillespie at Tennessee. I don't have that. Yaxel Lenderborg, your third team. Holy, that's my biggest problem. What are you, nuts?
I know.
He's the best player on the best team. Who literally, we're taping this just after the Iowa game. Who in the last possession, happy and willing and wants to have Bennett Sturtz on guarding him to end the game and take control of the game. What the hell are you thinking? Why is he the third team?
I waffled on putting him second team, but candidly, it was between him and Hauk, and I like Hauk's game, man. I'm sorry. Hauk's motor does it all. I think Florida can win the national championship. I really do. And you know better than I do, Dalen.
Oh, I 100%. I think Florida's odds 5 weeks ago were 22-1. And I was telling people they're coming. That number's going to come down. Value's going to. I didn't think they get to be really one of the top 4 teams in the country, and their odds now are at 6 to 8 to 1, depending on what book you're looking at. It came down like that in 3 weeks. I mean, 10 days ago they were 12.5 to 1, 11.5 to 1. So yes, Florida undoubtedly can win a championship. The guards have improved. Thomas Hauk is outstanding. You have Chinelu on here, which I think is a stretch to put him on the first team but he is the defensive player of the year in the SEC. He's the best rebounder in the country. He affects the games in ways that don't show up in the stat sheet. So I first team I think is a bit aggressive, but his contribution to a team that could go back to back, and his contribution for the team that won it last year, which is not what you're voting on though, is without a doubt it's underappreciated to say the least. So yeah.
Is he defensive player of the year nationally? Because I'm trying to think, and once more, you're the expert, but I watch him in the paint. I watch his footwork. I watch how he redirects shots that aren't even close to the paint because he's able to quickly get out and position himself and make a difference. I think he's the biggest difference maker defensively in the country. My take.
It's hard to argue with that. I have not contemplated this much, but I'm sure Daimara is going to get some looks for the Wolverines at 7-3. He affects everything around their interior, and I understand that. And he does it in every single game. But yeah, Chinelu being I wouldn't have an issue with that. I didn't think about that a little bit more, but he's definitely he should be the SEC Defensive Player of the Year, and that immediately puts you in the running to be the National Player of the Year in the discussion for sure. So. Your AJ DeBonsa at the first team, again, NBA potential for sure, but in terms of his productivity, and I like to reward winning, they have struggled. And I do think they were 16-1 at one point. I get that. But so many of the games they trailed at halftime because they just hardly ever played 40 minutes. And now that's seeping in when you're not defending at all. And you can't just flip a switch and you're missing Richie Saunders, who's going to be a top 20 pick in the NBA draft. They're struggling. So, I mean, that one I think is a bit much. So I agree with your Boozer. I'll give you Christian Anderson. I'll probably have him on the second team, but I'll give you that. Other than that, I struggle with the rest of your first team.
Okay, fair. I've got Boozer as the National Player of the Year, actually.
I think that's a done deal, bro. I think that's. I don't. Nobody even argues. The only person that was becoming in the conversation, unfortunately, was JT Toppin, and then he's injured. He's done for the year. So I think JT was able to at least say, but it could be. But it wasn't going to be. It was going to be Cam.
I actually covered Cam Boozer's father the entirety of his college career. I was the Duke beat writer. Mm-hmm. That was a long time ago. I watched his grandparents get pelted with garbage at Cole Fieldhouse.
Oh wow.
His
Cole's
grandparents.
tough. He used to always tell me that
Cole's-
Maryland. He used to always tell me, Booze is my boys. He would always bring it up because everybody talks North Carolina Duke, and he's like, "No,
Right.
man, Maryland was in our time. I mean, we played them in the Final Four, played in the ACC tournament, like all that. Then in 1 year, you played them 4 times. They had a serious beef in the Cole Fieldhouse. I'd never been there, but heard the stories about how horrible that place was to play.
It was the media was afraid. We'll leave it at that. I know you got a lot going on. Just a couple more minutes. There's one player on here. We mentioned Caleb Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's absolutely phenomenal. I think what he did against Duke. I mean, there were stretches in that game where he had to be the guy. He took over and he did that, and it's something remarkable for any player, let alone a freshman. What are your expectations for Caleb Wilson? Do we see him on Saturday, do you think, against Duke, or is it just a non-issue and they get him ready for the ACC tournament? Because on one hand, this will be his only appearance at Cameron Indoor Stadium, and he's already got a win over Duke. But on the other hand, do you let it go another week and say it's all about the conference tournament? Actually, it's all about the NCAA tournament. What do you do?
Well, first of all, in that first game, that first half, he kept them in the game. If he didn't have, to your point, if he didn't have like an otherworldly first half, they're getting boat raced in their own building. He was outstanding in that game. His motor, his energy, his compete level is off the charts to go along with a very great skill level. This young man, he's going to have an awesome NBA career. Like he might be the freshman that I came in with, not low expectations. There were expectations that he's supposed to be good, but was blown away by all the intangibles and how he went about his business. I will say that having it's different having like a rolled ankle, a pulled a hamstring issue, a soft muscle issue, or tendon issue is different than a broken bone. The bone is either healed and healed enough that it won't, you can maybe still getting a little flexibility, a little pain there as you deal with it, or it's not. And I think if the thing is healed, he plays. Because I imagine when you talk about his non-shooting hand, his non-shooting hand too, you can be in conditioning the whole time. You can be crushing your body to make sure your body's where it needs to be, close enough that your hand is the concern. It's the off-shooting hand. Now, granted, if you fall on it, it could happen. Yeah. But if you don't see the break on the X-ray and the MRI, like if the scans are clean, the doc's good, play him. If it was an ankle or something all muscular, like I said, where you don't know, and if you twinge the wrong way, you could pull it again, and now you're worried about the tournament. This is kind of a more black or white issue, and I think if they say he's good, roll it out there, let's play.
Yeah, I mean, I'm watching him the other night saying, "Oh my God, he's squeezing a water bottle." That's a sign, he's got some hand strength. And Dalen, my last topic for you, because again, I know you've got so many other things going on. I think you have a charity function you have to attend. You've got to go change an old lady's flat tire. I think you're serving as a midwife.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm gonna go pop somebody's baby out right over here in a little bit, and then my son's definitely gonna cry. And I got to change a diaper. I'm sure that one actually is probably gonna happen.
But here's my question, and I brought it up, and it'll bring us full circle to this segment. This is an amazing freshman class. It's almost cliche to bring it up at this point, considering the season's almost over. But I'm older than you. I've seen a lot of basketball. You've seen way more basketball. Historically, where does this freshman class fit in? Because I think this, Dalen, if we would have seen a better one over the last 20 years, we would have seen it because of one and done. Guys had to come to college. The parts have never come together quite like this. I'm blown away. How did we get to this? Where's it at historically?
Yeah, for me, and I can only speak for obviously my time on the planet, obviously, but in covering the game is the last 20 years. Since I graduated from college, I started college in 2002, but started covering the game in some capacity when I graduated in 2006. It's by far the best freshman class I've ever seen. And I don't want to be hyperbolic. I just think it's factual. You look up and down the rosters of these teams and where these guys are going to be in the NBA, the impact they're having. A lot of them are really good two-way players too. It's remarkable. And how do we get here? In a situation where the American model is under threat because the European model, the guys are coming in more skilled, understand how to play a little bit better, have played less games, done more training, have played with grown men, and half the NBA now is international players. I don't know how we got here other than the fact that Americans still can produce good players. And it was a confluence of them all being the same age or reclassifying to be in the same age group. It just is what it is. It's not that we can say that it'll be the same next year or the year before, or it won't be better next year. Probably won't. But this was even the guys you knew would be great have been great. And then guys you thought would be good have been great. And they've elevated their game. So I don't necessarily expect to see it again with this depth and this quality. But I didn't expect this year either. So we'll see.
If we had the traditional model, Cooper Flagg would be in this class.
True. Yeah, exactly. Well, he reclassified. He's one of those guys that reclassified. And there's a couple in this class that reclassified to go earlier. So it's just kind of how it works out sometimes.
It's absolutely mind-blowing. Really quick, before we let you go, let's tell people everything you're up to, where they can catch you. I wasn't joking. I mean, you're doing everything.
We're all over the place. So USA Sports Network this weekend covering the A10 tournament, I should say the final Saturday of the men's side. Then next week I'll be in USA a lot. Turner, I'm doing the first 2 rounds of the tournament for Turner on what's called their March Madness Live. So all their app and digital outlets will be in the studio all day. Randolph Childress, myself, Tony Delk, breaking down the games. So it'll be a lot of fun with those guys down in Atlanta. And then Field of 68 all through the tournament. I think that covers everything. Turner, Field of 68, and USA are pretty much own my March right now in early April. Oh, so my God, Sirius XM, my bad. On Sirius 2 or 3 times a week, channel 84. There you go. We'll be
I heard you. I think were you with Chris Budden the other day? I think maybe.
No, I wasn't with Budden the other day. I was with Roddy. I don't know. We were with Roddy, Matt McCall, Sean Farnham lately. Wherever they tell me to go, I go.
And you're with Chill. Randolph Childers is one of my all-time favorite
He's
dudes.
the best,
I
man.
love that guy. Yeah.
Amazing dude.
And then Tony Delk. Well, as a Kentuckian, I've got thoughts on that. All right, Dalen, you're the man, brother. I appreciate you.
Anytime, brother. Be well.
How good is Dalen? He's absolutely fantastic. He worked at ESPN a number of years. His wife is Kelsey Riggs, who we see on all kinds of ESPN platforms, doing Sports Center, various college duties. She's fantastic. Dalen he's the man. And I can't wait till he gets a more prominent position because he knows basketball and he's excellent at communicating it. He didn't agree with some of my picks. That's fine. And he is the expert, so he might be right. But what I put out there is what I put out there, and I'm going to stand by it. One thing we would both agree on, and once more, that interview was recorded about 12 hours before we got the announcement regarding Caleb Wilson, is that this is a big hit for North Carolina. It's a big hit for the ACC. North Carolina, when it's running on all cylinders, is a pretty good basketball team. Henry Vasar, love that guy's game. Now teams are going to be able to focus on him a little more. Have to wonder what the Dukies are thinking. Tar Heels coming to town Saturday for the second part of their annual 2-game rivalry. Best rivalry in college basketball, by the way. I would have to think that Duke would want UNC to be full strength so that there could be a little more credence, gravitas perhaps, to a win if Duke were to win over to UNC. Still, a win is a win. They'll take it, absolutely, and a win over your rival is really, really appreciated. But in these sorts of things, you want your opponent to be at full strength, and it's a shame that North Carolina is not going to be. Man, it's a lick. But still a lot of good players healthy, a lot of good players remaining to possibly lead their teams to national title. It might be a guy in the ACC, might be somebody in the SEC, might be in the Big Ten. It's a year of parity, and it's been like this for a while, but this year is especially. I've said it repeatedly, and I think it bears doing it one more time, that if you were to take the top 8 maybe teams, maybe 10, in the rankings on my weekly ballot, put them in a hat, pick one out and say, there's number 1, there's number 2, and you just laid them out as you picked them out of the hat. And you said, this is how they are, 1 through 10. I couldn't make much of an argument. The margins are that narrow between 1 and 10, and probably beyond that, honestly. There are teams littered throughout the top 25 who have the pieces to go on deep runs and perhaps to win the whole darn thing if it all just comes together, if they get the right opponent on the right night, consecutive nights throughout the month of March. Anything's probable. It doesn't have to be a Villanova because these are good teams. I'm excited for this tournament. I'm as excited for this tournament as I've ever been for a tournament. And the conference tournaments. I dig conference tournaments. I might actually like that more than the NCAA tournament. I just think it's cool. It's a little heightened because you've got these rivalries playing out and everybody wants a shot at it at the conference championship. There's a lot of weight to that as well. And you might be playing your bitter rival. So I like conference tournaments. Excited over the women's tournaments very much. Very much. Watch South Carolina dispatch Kentucky by about 20 after only winning by 4 in Lexington. That speaks volumes about the depth of the SEC in women's basketball. Just just such an exciting time. Baseball season is going to have a lot to live up to. Thank God we have spring football practice. That's it for this episode. I want to thank Dalen Cuff for stopping by once more. He and all the guys really at Field of 68 do just such a tremendous job. I suggest you check them out. Drop Jeff Goodman a note. Give him my regards. Thank you for watching this podcast. Do what you do for podcast. Hit the like button, subscribe, whatever. Leave a comment below. Feel free to connect with me directly on social media at Scott H Sports on Twitter/X. The DMs are open. Questions, comments, complaints, suggestions, whatever. Let me know, and I will pay attention to them. I'll do my best to absorb them. If there's a topic you want broached, I'll be happy to try to do it. If there's a guest you want me to talk with, to interview, I'll do my darndest to facilitate it. Otherwise, I've got a lot more to prepare for. Again, the end of the regular season, so much happening. I'm going to go do some research. Until next time, be safe.